heat on, but I'll give it a try and see what it's like. Oh my god, that is so good. Okay, it is slightly soft, but it's very sweet, and it's so creamy and slightly cheesy as well. That's how you make this delicious soybean, strawberry and chocolate cheesecake, and that recipe I will link in the description box below for you. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be having a slice of this afternoon as a little sweet treat, and as I just mentioned, today I want to share with you how to make a really delicious cheesecake. This recipe is easy, but it is slightly time consuming. However, the efforts are worth the results. It is a very tasty cheesecake, and recently I've made a couple of cheesecakes, but I made those with chickpeas. Today I'm going to be using soya beans for this recipe. Chickpeas tend to have a very distinctive flavour, and sometimes that can come out in the cheesecake. So I decided to use soya beans because soya beans are a bit like the chicken of the bean world. They don't tend to have too much flavour, or they don't have a very distinctive flavour to them. So you can add a lot of flavours in. So for this recipe, the first thing I did was I baked off my biscuits yesterday, and the recipe for those biscuits and the video, if I can find one, I will link in the description box below for you. Then once they'd all cooled off, I put them into a resealable, reusable bag, and you can buy those resealable bags online. I think I bought mine from Costco, but you can buy those online. And then I sealed up the bag and I bashed the bag with a rolling pin until all of the biscuits are turned into crumbs. And then I poured those crumbs into a mixing bowl, and then I melted down some coconut oil. So I got about 100 grams of coconut oil, which I melted down on a pan, and I poured that over the top of the biscuit crumbs, and I mixed those together. And I also took about 3 tablespoons away from the biscuit crumbs as well, because that's for the topping later. And then once that was all mixed in, I grabbed myself a springform tin, and I cut out a piece of greaseproof paper which fits perfectly inside this springform tin, and I added oil to the base of the springform tin. I oiled it, I put the piece of greaseproof paper in, and I oiled the top of the greaseproof paper. Then I poured the biscuits in, and I flattened the biscuits on the bottom and around the sides of the tin, as you can see. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this into the fridge for a good, no, actually into the freezer for a good 10 minutes. And then while this is in the freezer, I shall make the filling for the cheesecake. I have preheated the oven to 240 degrees, and I'm now going to make the filling for the cheesecake. So for the cheesecake filling, I have 240 grams of cooked soya beans, and the recipe on how to cook beans I will link in the description box below for you. Now, I don't think you can buy soya beans in the UK supermarkets. You might be able to buy them in other supermarkets around the world, but I've never really seen them sold in UK supermarkets. So I bought these online from Whole Foods online. They aren't that expensive either, they're actually really cheap, and they make really nice snacks as well, and they make a lot of different dinners, and they are packed with protein too. So I'm going to put this cooked soya beans into my blender cup like so, and then to that I'm going to add about 200 grams of cashew nuts. I boiled these cashew nuts before I'm going to put them in the food processor. So I got a saucepan, I poured boiling water into that, and I brought that to the boil, and then I added the cashew nuts and I brought those to the boil, and then I left them to simmer for about 5 minutes. And I'm just going to add those in as well. And then to that I'm going to add 200 ml of coconut cream. If you can't get coconut cream like this, then you can always use a tin of coconut cream and put it in the fridge, and then the top will hopefully become quite solid and the bottom will be liquid, and that is about 200 ml of coconut cream, and that's perfect for this recipe. And then I'm going to add about a teaspoon or two of raw cacao powder. You could use cocoa powder if you wanted to. And I'm going to use about a teaspoon of maca powder. If you can't get maca powder, don't worry about it. It will just add a nice caramel flavour if you can. And then I've got a teaspoon of baking powder as well. And I'm just going to add those in. And then I'm going to pop the lid on. And I'm going to blend all of these ingredients together. Blending it, I thought I'd open it up and try a little bit, and I remembered I forgot to add the sugar. So I've got about 150 grams of sugar here. I've got coconut sugar. You could use brown sugar or you could use maple syrup as well if you wanted to. And I'm going to add that in, and hopefully that's the last thing I've got to add in. And I'm going to blend these ingredients together again. I've blended those ingredients until they are smooth. And I've removed the base from the freezer, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the filling into the base of the cheesecake, and then once this is all in, I should pop this into the oven for about 40 minutes, or until the top, 40 to 45 minutes, or until the top goes a lovely golden brown colour. So I'm just trying to spread the base as evenly as I can across, spread the filling as evenly as I can across the cheesecake, like so. And then, as I said, I'm going to pop this into the oven for 40 to 45 minutes, or until the top goes a lovely golden brown colour. I'm having one of those days today, I'm sorry. The cheesecake has been in the oven for 40 minutes and it's gone a lovely golden brown colour, and I can tell it's cooked because when I put my finger on it very gently it springs back. So that means it's cooked. So I'm going to pop this into the fridge now overnight, and then tomorrow we'll bake some strawberries to put on the top, and I'll try some and let you know how it tastes. But this smells so good right now. The cheesecake has been in the fridge overnight, and I've removed it from the tin and I've just put it onto this plate, and I've cooked off the strawberries. I've already made a video on how to cook the strawberries, but I will tell you now quickly how I did it. So the first thing I did was I preheated my oven, then I put a baking tray into the oven at the same time as it was preheating, and while that was preheating I hauled the strawberries. So what that means is I got a small knife and I cut around the top, so around the leaves and the stalk of the strawberry, and then I pulled that bit out, and hopefully when you pull that bit out you should have a small stem on it, and that's the sour part of the strawberry, that's the bit you don't want, so you discard that. And then I put the strawberries into a bowl. Once the oven had preheated, I took the baking tray out and I put 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, sorry, into a bowl. The coconut oil had melted, and then I also added to that 2 tablespoons of maple syrup as well, and I poured that into the baking tray and let that melt down. And then I added a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and a couple of teaspoons of ground sweet cinnamon. They are optional, you don't have to add those at all. Then I put that back into the oven and I let that cook for about 25 to 30 minutes. And the result is this. I've had to put them in the bowl because the baking tray is slightly hot, and I wanted to see if I could cool them quicker in a bowl. They are still quite warm, but I'm going to attempt to put them on the top of the cheesecake now. So I'm just going to place these all around the cheesecake like this until I've filled this with strawberries, and then I'm going to pour some of that delicious syrup over the top as well. The cheesecake has been in the fridge overnight as well, so it is beautiful now. And I'm going to try and fill the middle of this cheesecake as well. I think I might need to go and get some more strawberries from the baking tray. So I'm just going to nip down here. That's cold enough to touch now. So I'm just going to get some strawberries from here. I'm going to place that one there, and I think that will be enough. And then, as I said, I'm just going to pour a little bit of that syrup over the top. And that is the cheesecake done. I will grab a knife and try some of this in a moment, but this smells so good right now. I've cut myself a slice of the cheesecake, and I also added the biscuit crumbs to the top that I forgot to do earlier. I'm having one of those weekends, I think. So yes, I'm going to give this a little try now, and I'll let you know how it tastes. As I said earlier, it smells really good. Oh, but before I do, I just want to say that if you have enjoyed this video, then please feel free to hit that subscribe button and like button. And if you have any comments, then please feel free to leave those in the comments section below. Everything like that really helps me out, and I would really appreciate it. So yes, I'm going to give this a little try. It's quite soft in the middle. I think I might have needed to use some tapioca starch or some corn flour. This recipe I think has gone a bit peaked on, but I'll give it a try and see what it's like. Oh my god, that is so good. Okay, it is slightly soft, but it's very sweet, and it's so creamy and slightly cheesy as well. So yes, I'm really looking forward to having this as a little treat this afternoon. Strawberry and chocolate cheesecake, and that recipe I will link in the description box below for you. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be having this as a little sweet treat this afternoon, and it smells and tastes so good, I can't wait. So for now, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll be watching my next video.